Would you go to an unknown country if given the chance to work? For some people, this was the only option. In 1942, an executive order established the Bracero Program. The United States allowed millions of Mexican men to work legally for a short term. This agreement was to increase the agricultural workers in the United States since the labor shortage during World War II.
Braceros often worked long hours, 10 to 12 hours a day, sometimes more, in extreme weather conditions from scorching heat in the fields to freezing cold in certain regions. The work was physically demanding, including harvesting crops like cotton, sugar beets, and fruit. Wages were supposed to be fair and equal to American workers, but in practice, many braceros were paid less than what was promised, as little as 30 cents an hour in some cases. Employers withheld wages or charged braceros for food, housing, and transportation, reducing their actual earnings. Part of their wages, 10%, was deducted and sent to a Mexican bank for savings, but many workers never received that money. Braceros faced racial discrimination from both employers and local communities. They were often segregated in living areas and denied access to restaurants, housing, or other services. Many faced verbal and physical abuse from employers and border officials. The infamous delousing process at the border involved spraying braceros with pesticides like DDT before they entered the U.S., treating them as if they were unclean.
Marie Guevara was born in Los Angeles. Her late husband, however, was under the Bracero Program. Many braceros weren't allowed to leave their county because they were under contract. If they did get caught, they would get deported. This led to making small, close-knit pueblos. She says that it was difficult for him to get a job because of the law that would allow employers to refuse to give workers that didn't have papers.
The Bracero Program of 1942 through 1964 left a significant and lasting impact on both the U.S. and Mexico, shaping labor policies, immigration patterns, and social dynamics. The program set a precedent for the large-scale use of Mexican labor in U.S. agriculture. Even after it ended, farmers continued to seek Mexican workers, leading to increased undocumented immigration. By providing a steady supply of low-wage labor, the programs contributed to depressed wages for farm workers, affecting both Mexican and domestic laborers. Many braceros, once dependent on seasonal contracts, sought permanent residence in the U.S. Illegal border crossings surged after the program's termination, leading to increased immigration enforcement policies like Operation 1954, and later IRCA policy of 1986. The program shaped today's debates on guest worker programs and immigration reform. The exploitation of braceros helped fuel labor activism. Leaders like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta fought for farm workers' rights, leading to the United Farm Workers UFW movement. Calls for better wages and protections for agricultural workers trace back to abuses braceros endured. The program reinforced the pattern of migration where many Mexicans saw the U.S. as an economic lifeline. Many rural communities lost workers, disrupting local economies and deepening economic dependency on U.S. jobs. The withheld wages, 10% of earnings meant for savings accounts in Mexico, were never fully returned to many braceros. Lawsuits for repayment continued into the 2000s, with only partial compensation given. The program reinforced the pattern of migration, where many Mexicans saw the U.S. as an economic lifeline. Many rural communities lost workers, disrupting local economies and deepening economic dependency on U.S. jobs. The Bracero Program laid the foundation for modern U.S.-Mexico labor relations, influencing immigration policies, farm workers' rights, and economic ties. Its legacy is still seen today in debates over guest worker programs, fair wages, and border security.